Okay, ladies and gentlemen, how are we doing this evening? This is Bob Gums, and I'm bringing you the Concerned Forum. Before we get started, I'd just like to ask that when you see this on YouTube, if you could check the box if you like it, if you don't like it, add a comment, good or bad. Doesn't make a difference because I read them all. Listen, this particular show I'm doing tonight, it's for everybody. But to a large extent, it's kind of tailored to New York because, right now, New York is getting ready to do their election thing. And I want to talk about two guys, right? This time around, it's two guys. One guy is from the 15th district, where I resided in the Bronx, and I'm still registered to vote there. And the other gentleman is someone you may have heard of, Zorhan Mamdami. So we're going to be talking about those two gentlemen. But before we do that, because, I'm really getting pissed. I mean, I'm really pissed. Ignorance, uh, meanness, bigotry really upset me. Okay. And I think that I need to square something with you folks out there before we move into the internals of these coming elections. You know, for the last several years, there has been a lot of bullshit, and I mean that bullshit floating around on the American political scene. Okay? Primarily, this whole business about immigration. Okay? We all remember Trump coming down the escalator talking about the Mexicans, murderers, rapists, and thieves. Which looking back on it, I kind of find amusing because Donald, well, he already checked the box on two of those, right? So, no, I take it back. He checks the box on all three, because he's running rampant in the Caribbean and in Latin America, killing people willy nilly. So, yeah, murderer, rapists, and thieves. Quite frankly, I think Mr. Trump should feel in good company. But the idea that you have a right to disparage a whole group of people in that way actually is kind of scary. And it's very, very fascist like because he wants to take the tools of corporate power and government power and supply scapegoats. And I mean, this comes right out of the Nazi playbook. So I don't have to argue about that, quite frankly. But I think that Americans need a little history lesson. Now you hear people talk about, oh, well, I have no problem with them being, legal. It's horseshit. Number one, because most Americans don't know this, because the way that history has been taught, it has been so watered down and in most cases eroded. So that the average American, when they talk about anything past 1945, they usually don't know what the hell they're talking about. And see, that's a problem. Because you're a sorry bastard. You can't talk, you can't talk about where you're from because you don't know. See? Before 1870, whoa, 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 70, what was it, 74, 75? I think it was, yeah, around that time period. in the 19th century. Basically, you can come from anywhere, land anywhere in the United States, and you were here. So especially for you people in the so-called heartland, your parents or your greats, whatever, right? When they came here, they had no problem. All right, there was no such thing about immigration. But as we start passing into the late 1870s, 1880s, and you start having Italians come here, well, you have to remember that Italians were considered to be the scum of the earth. No offense. I mean, I'm giving you history, okay? In the state of Louisiana, they were more Italians for a period of time that were lynched than there were black folk. The black folks were lynched. Especially during the time period of, when was that? The late 1880s, going into 1890. The governor of Louisiana basically put out like a death warrant on Italians, right? I mean, dig up the newspapers from New Orleans at that time, and you can see that for yourself. They were not accepted as white people. Now, the Irish, coming in large numbers, beat the Italians here, especially after their great famine in, what was it, 1846, 48, that time period. And they also originally were not considered to be white people and considered to be vulgar. And oh, they were also, strictly Roman Catholic. And they caught hell. The hell they caught was so bad that in the Mexican American War, which the United States provoked because of the Southerners pushing to get slave territory, uh, you had, what was it? I think like a regiment practically of Irish immigrants who had joined the United States Army. And they felt that their treatment was so brutal and bigoted that they switched sides. And there is, in Mexico, there is a statue, and I believe a school in honor of the St. Patrick's, what they call the St. Patrick's Brigade. Okay? So, ignorance and bigotry is nothing new in America. As a matter of fact, unfortunately, for many people, hatred of a new group coming in is as American as apple pie. Okay? And my God, let's talk about how the Asian community was treated. Um, Basically, they were also treated like dogs. And it's a shame that in this day and age, we still have this type of ignorance going on. But see, that's what Trump and MAGA were all about. See, bigotry, hypocrisy. I say hypocrisy because Donald Trump himself is the child of an immigrant and the grandchild of an immigrant. And as Mehdi Hassan pointed out the other day, out of three wives, two of them were immigrants. I'm not going to go into that part where he says that immigrants do jobs that Americans don't want to do. I'll let that alone. But, it just, especially here in New York, see, and this is where we get down to the thing with, Mamdami. Now, it's a shame that they don't teach history in school. I mean, not real history. Because I believe that if they did, a lot of the problems and polarizations that we have of each other in this country, they wouldn't exist. I would say, I'm not saying all of it would disappear, but I think a good amount of it would. Okay. Um, the Republican Party now, basically, they're a fascist party. No two ways about it. You don't like to get into name calling, but if you see a skunk, you call out, "Hey, that's a skunk." You see the Republican Party, they act in the fascist manner, especially with their MAGA friends. It's a fascist party. And I'm not an authority on too many things. I don't even like to use that term, being an authority, but I know the Republican Party probably better than most guys and gals who are in the Republican Party now. Because I was born and raised in there, right in New York City, right there in Harlem. Okay? My old man ran for office as a Republican, ran for the Assembly. He was the vice president of the Morningside Heights Republican Club in the western part of Harlem. And I know the Republican Party, and I've seen what's happened to it. And before he passed on, Colin Powell, he saw what was going on too. See, remember when he said he was going to vote for Barack Obama? Yeah. So anyway, what really got my goat up was these MAGA attacks coming from, New York City media spots, right? Excuse me. Attacking Mamdami because of his religion. And see, that's the thing about these. Well, I'm going to prove I'm a pro-American because I'm going to attack a Muslim guy, right? Going back to the history thing, Black Americans built this country, okay? We gave it the foundation. There would be no American empire without black chattel slavery. Now, a lot of folks out there, they don't want to hear this, but that's the history. And it's history that you can very easily research. Make me a liar. Make me a liar. But that's the way it was. Okay? I know personally, my mom, her family's it was family law. They've been here, they came over here off the boat in 1680s? Worked on Thomas Jefferson's Monticello in Virginia. So I don't know. I don't take any crap off of anybody. All right, especially someone like Trump and MAGA, because you got to be careful when you argue with ignorant people. Okay, it's usually best to do it from a distance so that you don't catch their virus. Okay, but as I said, those blacks from Africa who were brought here to America, 1 out of every 3 were Muslim. So Islam, quiet as it's kept, Islam has been in America for almost the beginning of excuse me, I should say the United States. America means North America and South America and Central America, okay? But talking about the United States, Islam has been here since the beginning, okay? Now, these MAGA fascist a-holes that are attacking Mamdami, uh, and their fervor I don't know, I guess, in their sick, deluded minds, that's their way of showing patriotism. And, oh, yeah, well, we love the founders and the Constitution. Most of these idiots in MAGA have never read the Constitution. Most of these idiots in New York, okay, on the radio, and on Fox have never even read the freaking Constitution. Because if they had, they would know that the founders made a constitution. One of the most basic rules of that constitution is that religion, it has nothing to do with the qualification to run for political office. See? So every time, and see, I think it's time, especially in this very hateful period that we're dealing with here in America, I think it's time that Americans realize every time oh, well, this guy's a Jew. Well, it's okay for him to, if he wants to be a congressman or even a governor, that's cool, or a senator. But do you really want to have a Jew for a president? Well, when you say that, that's about as un-American as it can get. And people need to start realizing that, okay? Christianity has never had, how should I say, this has never been a Christian nation. A lot of the people who came here were Christian, and they left their imprint. But as George Washington said, America is not a Christian nation. It is not devoted, okay, to one particular religion, okay? And remember, he was a deist, okay, which is kind of like a Unitarian, right? Now, I know that's upsetting to a lot of people, but it's the truth, okay? He made a comment, something to the effect of, a man should be able to sit underneath his fig tree in peace, la da da da, something along those lines. But Washington told you straight up, no, this is not a one religion country. Okay? So when you have this gentleman, Mamdami, who happens to be of Islam, uh, number one, myself, I'm a former American Roman Catholic. Um, I have I had started a few years ago to attend Unitarian services. I have my own spiritual beliefs about religion and Christianity. And to be honest about it, it's really not anybody's goddamn business, quite frankly. And that's what makes me an American, because I have a right to believe how I wish to believe. And these people, especially, who was that crazy broad down in D.C., supposedly Trump's side lady, Laura Looney or whatever? You know, who the hell does she think she is? You know, is she a New Yorker? Number one. And number two, who cares? You know, to me, it's just so damn depressing. And I think that, you know what? When I was a kid, when I was a little kid, I remember hearing adults, sometimes even on TV, talking about, oh God, he's so handsome, but he's a Catholic. Should we really have a Catholic president? You know what I'm talking about, right? Yeah, JFK. Yeah, I remember that. I've been around a minute, okay? I mean, I'm trying not to look like it, but yeah, I can remember that. Yes. And see, I believe that's the same damn thing that they're trying to do to Mandela. And it's wrong. It is wrong. I wrote some few other notes here about the idea that his policies, oh man, look, I think that he deserves the right to try. I think that New York City, quite frankly, along with the rest of the country, they're looking for a change, especially in these hateful, desperate times. And I think that the man should be allowed to do his thing, right? He's reaching out to everyone, black, white, Jewish, Latino, right? Asian. I mean, come on, man. That's what, that's what we're supposed to be about. Number one, because we're New Yorkers, right? We come from the entire planet, and we came here either willingly or unwillingly, but we're all here now. And we need to work together to get this man elected. And let me say a couple other things, because I caught that debate. Right? The Sliwa, okay? Um, he's. I don't think that he should be. I think that Zorhan Mamdami should. But you know what? I like Curtis, though. I ain't gonna lie. And I guess probably the reason is because, like I said, I've been around a minute, right? And I remember Curtis from back in the day. See? And he's a good guy. He is a good guy. I do hope, I sincerely hope that him and Zorhan Mamdami reach some kind of accommodation, some type of meeting of the mind, right? Because Sliwa, he's good people. And he's a funny guy, but he is. He's good people. And Governor Cuomo. And that makes me kind of sad. I used to work for him. I was a temp. What was he? Secretary, I think in Clinton's administration. Secretary of HUD, something like that. And where was that office? Over on the east side, around, was it 30? Off of 34th Street, if I'm not mistaken. Lexington? Anyway, I remember him from back then. And, like you see, his brother has his talk show, right? He reminds me, back then, to me, looking back on it, he kind of reminds me of his brother with the talk show now, right? And he was, seemed like a pretty, decent guy. But I don't know. I guess that's one of the things about life. How you do, how people do politics when they get into politics and trying to, get up that ladder. And sometimes, you make some wrong steps, and that happens. Um, I would say that every performer has a time, right? And there's a time when you should leave the stage. I was sorry when I heard that he was going to run for mayor because I know to me I felt that was kind of like a down step for him. Um, I mean that's my opinion. I'm sincerely saddened by the troubles that he's had. Some of the accusations made against him. Um, I appreciated some of the things that he did during the COVID crisis. Um, some of the other things that he did, I'm not pleased about. And I think what distresses me most about Cuomo is that, as a matter of fact, the thing that I like about Curtis Sliwa is the thing that saddens me about Cuomo. Because Sliwa, I mean, he knows how, he knows how to run his mouth, right? I mean, he's in New York. You can look at Sliwa and say, hey, this is a real New Yorker here, right? And especially when he started basically walking on the Republican side of the street. But he never went to the dark side. I remember with the guardian angels and the other things that he did, he never went to the dark side. And what saddens me about Governor Cuomo is that I believe he got a good heart. He's got problems, he got issues. But I'm sad that he allowed himself to get in with the same type of people that support Donald Trump, right? He was a lawyer for the Prime Minister of Israel, who's responsible for what the whole world now sees as a genocide in Gaza, things like that. And being a born and raised native New Yorker, it, you know, it does bother me. I'm not going to lie about it. It truly does. And that's why I could not vote with Cuomo for mayor. And it really it kind of blows my head because he has a honorable, proud name and tradition. And to see him and to hear him get in the muck with Donald Trump and with the clowns on that what was it, that TV or radio show where the guy made a joke saying that yeah, if we had another 9/11, Mamdami would be applauding or some bullshit like that. And he was sitting up there and he could have said something like, "Hey man, look, I mean that's a bit much," or something of that nature. But to see him somehow allow himself to be surrounded with people like that, as somebody, I mean, and I had the highest respect, okay, for the old man, for Mario, and to see him with those kind of words, yeah, that bothers me, because I don't know, I guess as you get older, you think about back in the day, you know, and I don't think his pop would have ever allowed himself to be put in that situation around those type of people. And I'm sorry about that. I really am as a New Yorker. I'm really sorry about that. I respect his brother. Um, I have high regards for him. But no, yeah, I don't see him being mayor. And like I say, I think it's very unfortunate that this whole campaign has boiled down to bigotry and religious intolerance over a man's religion. But I'm sorry, I can't go with that. Yeah, I served my country for almost 26 years. I served with men, women, black, white, Asian, Latino, Catholic, Buddhist, Christian, Muslims, and no, I can't deal with that. Sorry. I wish him well. I do wish him well. And last and least, um, Mr. Adams, uh, what can you say about Mayor Adams? Right. Uh, well, I think enough has been said. I will mention that Mayor Adams really, as far as I'm concerned, really stabbed me in the back. I was with a group called CASA, which is a housing group fighting for low-income housing, and particularly for people of color, and dealing with landlords and issues of that nature. And as a member, I went to represent CASA at, one of those hearings that they have throughout the city when they're talking about rent freeze. And it was so disheartening to see that Mayor Adams, in terms of trying to help renters in New York City, he really didn't do a damn thing, quite frankly. As a matter of fact, he actually hurt us. And that's the picture, that I have in my mind about Mr. Adams. And so if we're talking about voting, the only logical, the most logical and hopeful vote that you can have is for Zorhan Mamdami. And I wish him all the luck. Uh, I wish I was there personally to cast my ballot for him. Unfortunately, my congressman that was bothered to send me my absentee ballot, but that's okay. I know there's going to be enough New Yorkers there, I pray, to carry through for me, even though I'm not physically there. Now, that takes care of who's running for mayor. Now, my district in the Bronx, I'm a transplanted Harlemite, and for the last several years have lived in the Bronx before I came over here. And there's a gentleman by the name of Jose Vega, right? And I like this guy. I'll tell you why. Because he seems to have the ability to walk the streets of the Bronx and talk about the needs of our people there in the Bronx. Because you got to remember now, the 15th district, and I'm still trying to figure this one out. And I was stationed in Mississippi for a while, so I know what I'm talking about. The 15th district is supposed to be one of the three poorest districts in the United States. And I'm trying to, I still can't get that, right? How in the hell, the Bronx, right? Right across the river from Manhattan. We're one of the five boroughs and the greatest city in the world. How in the hell can the 15th district be one of the poorest areas in the freaking United States? I don't figure that, right? But Jose seems to have the knack to be able to talk to the people in the district, understand and ascertain their needs, and at the same time, his mind is open to the future. And when I say future, he has classes on the global south, the BRIC nations, right? The things that are going to influence how New Yorkers and how Americans are going to live their lives as we go into the next 10, 20 years of this 21st century. And unlike his opponent, he's not getting funded by APAC. And as we have come to see, that has caused Congress people, our representatives, being funded by APAC. It has caused huge problems. Okay? My father used to have a saying, he who pays the fiddler calls the tune. Okay? Now I know a lot of, no. My donors, I mean, no matter how much I get paid from the donors, I'm still independent minded. I do my own thing. Okay. So you say. But I think I prefer a representative that is just like Caesar's wife. You know the thing about Caesar's wife? Caesar's wife must be free of any hint of scandal. And it's better that way, quite frankly. And Jose Vega, he fits that criteria. And, I've listened to this guy, I've watched this guy, I've spoken with this guy. And I'll tell you quite frankly, I know, I would say better than the average person, something about the world situation, what's been going on for the last 25 years, and its possible effect on the next 25 years. Um, I was in intelligence tech at the White House and at the Pentagon when I was in the Navy with the Defense Intelligence Agency. And I did, oh God, we're not even going to talk about that. Did a whole bunch of top secret work. And Jose Vega, he has the understanding. And what he doesn't know, he has the integrity and the intelligence to research. And so for you folks there in the 15th district, listen, you cannot find any better than Jose Vega. And also, so let me wrap this one up. Friends, we're in one hell of a fix. And it's time that we really start to realize that. And I think the first part of the realization, and I was so proud to see this past Saturday, over 7 million Americans marching on the No King's Day, right? But that's just the beginning. MAGA and Trump came up with this BS about, oh, well, we got to make America great again and, take our country back. Well, guess what? Those of us that, believe in democracy, this is our time to take our country back. I don't care if you're in Brooklyn, I don't care if you're in LA, I don't care if you're in Chicago, I don't care if you're in New Orleans, I don't care if you are an American living overseas, right? And still registered to vote. We all have to do our share. I, I, I just saw a 4-star admiral who happened to be Black American quit, resigned. The month before that, it was a Marine colonel because of what the Trump regime is doing. This war that they're trying to drag us into in Venezuela, right? This killing of innocent people. And I don't want to hear this about, oh, well, they're running drugs. Number one, it's damn hard to run drugs from Venezuela all the way up to the Caribbean to Miami. Okay? That's a bit much. Number two, when I was on sea duty, when we had people in the Caribbean on boats, if they were, refugees, immigrants, what have you, or possible, drug carriers, you know what we did? What the Navy has been doing for the last, over 200 years. It's called stop and search. It's called a boarding party. We didn't just blow them into atoms, right? A Democratic congressman, he's on the, was it the House Intel Committee or one of the other committees that deal with military and intelligence. He said something. There's going to be a reckoning, okay? All of these people with, what do you call them? The ICE people that beat women into the ground, that put handcuffs on 5-year-olds, right? These murders in the Caribbean and in Latin America, there's going to be a reckoning. Might not be next year, it might not be this year, it might not be next year, but it's going to come, right? Just like it came for those fascists in Nuremberg, okay? Now, I know the Supreme Court has reopened, taking a look at this whole immunity thing with Trump, but I would be very careful. If I was an ICE agent, I would make sure that I scrupulously followed the law of the particular state that I was working in. And listen, I don't have no hard on for you guys in ICE. If any of you ever see this, okay? I know how it is. I know a lot of you folks who've gotten hired recently, you need a job. Trump has screwed up this economy so bad that it's what, 25,000 people a month, right? We went from like 150, 175,000 to 25,000. Jobs are tight, okay? I'm fighting a weight problem myself, my wife can tell you. And I know you guys are not, weight, and super weight, good shape. And I also know a lot of you guys have been out of school for a long time. So a lot of the basic qualifications that you need, that should have had, you don't have, okay? And I understand that. All I'm saying is, look, I don't like what you're doing, but I understand that you gotta eat, right? For God's sake, remember, you're an American, okay? And that puts a big responsibility upon you. Because most of the people that you come in contact with, they might not be legal citizens, but most of them have been here for a while, number one. And number two, unfortunately, a lot of real citizens have been getting caught up in this madness. And remember, you got an obligation, man, in terms of how you carry yourself, right? You don't want to wind up being one of those folks standing in front of the bar of justice, okay, saying, well, they told us to be brutal, they told us to be inhuman, and I was just, carrying out the program. That's not going to work. Okay, number one. Number two, I believe that most of you guys are better than that. Don't let these people like, what's his name, Tom Holman, and that, what's the lady that shot her puppy dog in the face? Uh, don't let people like that have you put your ass out on the limb, okay? All this stuff is going to be straightened out over time. You make sure that you do the right thing. Okay, you're not monsters. You're Americans. And I say the same thing to the brothers and sisters in the various National Guard. Okay, I used to be one of you. I came off active duty Navy from the Gulf War, went Navy Reserve, then went Army Reserve, then Army National Guard. Okay, as a matter of fact, I was an MP in the Washington, D.C. National Guard, right? So I know where your head is at. Come on, man, you're decent people. You're Americans. You know, this whole thing about wanting y'all to shoot to kill, and that goes for you and also for you active duty military, the guys in the Corps, right? You all know what's right, you all know what's right and wrong. Don't let anybody be a sucker, okay, for people who don't really, I mean, and if you think that Donald Trump gives a damn about the average grunt, right, National Guard guy, even the average ICE guy, if you think he gives a damn about you, okay, you're deluding yourselves. I've been following the Trump family since I was 13 years old, okay? And generally, with one or two exceptions, they don't give a damn about nobody but themselves. Don't do something to another American or to an undocumented person. Don't do anything to those people that you, looking back a couple of years down the road, will be ashamed of. Don't. I'm asking you, as one American to another, don't. Listen, I told you guys who I want to see as mayor. I told you who I want my congressman to be. And I hope I gave some half decent advice for you ICE folks, you active duty folks, for you National Guard folks. Our country's in a mess. Ain't no two ways about it. There's a lot of people trying to spread hate. A lot of people trying to basically take away our democracy. Okay? But if we start to keep our heads about us, who knows? We might be able to get this experiment called democracy back on track. Listen, y'all take care of each other, please. Be well. We'll be coming back with the next show in a short period of time. Peace. Bless y'all.